Personnel issues. Personnel issues. We've already talked about personal issues. What is a probationary contract? If you're a new teacher in your first, second, and possibly your third year of service, you are on a probationary contract, chances are. Probationary contract are issued to new teachers. New teachers can be on a probationary contract through their third year. A principal can decide after the second year to no longer extend the probationary into the third. They can actually put them on a term or continuing contract. What is the termination policy for probationary contracts? You're a new teacher and you're on a probationary contract. Can you be terminated?
Yeah.
The school board can simply give you notice that your services are no longer needed. They don't have to tell you why. But effective principals, if they believe they have a new teacher that's not living up to expectation, documents. But by law, they don't have to. But that is a good practice. A good practice, a very good practice, a best practice for administrators to document all faculty that need help and are not living up to expectation. Not only new, but all faculty, okay? Notice must be given to the new teachers by the 45th calendar day before the last day of instruction. That's the reason during the month of March, that's when all of the contract issues are taken to the school board for approval. Approval being that yes, you will remain on contract, or no, you will not be on contract, and that's been approved by the school board. It's backing it up to that 45th day before the last day of instruction. When are teachers eligible for term or continuing contracts? Dr. Schulte and I, about 2 or 3 years ago, had a student, and he was teaching the law class at the time. The student told him, Dr. Schulte told the class the same thing that I told classes for years, that continuing contracts are dinosaurs. They're extinct. They don't exist. And the student said, his name was Eddie, and he was a smart student. We all liked Eddie and agreed that he was he was an outstanding student. He said, "Sir, I have a continuing contract." And Dr. Schulte, trying to be professional and not trying to be too, egotistical about it, said to Eddie, "I believe you're wrong. And you go home and you check your contract. You do not have a continuing contract. You will have a term contract. You will have a contract for a certain term. You will not have a contract that just allows you to continue with your employment year after year after year." And he says, "Yes, I do." Dr. Schulte comes to me the next day after his class and tells me about Eddie. He says, "What do you think?" I said, "Don, they're dinosaurs. They're extinct. They don't exist." He said, "Well, good. I felt like I was given the correct information in law class." Okay? So we left it at that. Next week, class comes up. The day after class, Don comes to me and he says, "Guess what?" I said, "What?" I'd already forgotten about it. He said, "Remember that about continuing contracts?" I said, "Yeah, what about it?" He said, "They exist. They're not extinct." I said, "Get out of here." I said, "Don, you were superintendent in Socorro ISD. Did y'all have those?" He said, "No, we got rid of them in the 80s. I said, "We did too in my school district." I said, "What is it, some little small school district?" He said, "No, it's El Paso Independent School District." El Paso Independent School District, at the time, this was 2 or 3 years ago, were still issuing continuing contracts. I don't know if they do or do not. Any of you in EPISD, do you know if you have a continuing contract? Or do you have a term contract? Or you don't know? Term is typically for 2 years. Every 2 years it's renewed.
Yeah.
Maybe 3 years, something like that. All right, so here they are. After a teacher's probationary contract period is complete, a term for a specified period of time or a continuing contract will be offered. So this has been altered by me since that incident. I always used to say, everybody has a term contract. Not necessarily. There are some still issuing continuing contract. Way back, 250 years ago when I was a teacher, I had a continuing contract. But all that went by the wayside. Good cause. What is good cause for firing someone? Here's what is good cause, what a district can do. Numerous good causes exist for teacher termination. Here they are. Sexual misconduct with students is the most obvious. Read the newspaper. Read the newspaper, sadly enough. Sexual misconduct. Other examples include good cause for termination, incompetence, immorality, violent, and where's it at? Unprofessional conduct on or off campus by a faculty member. Insubordination, you're refusing to comply with directives and objectives of the school. Discriminatory practices, that's against the law. Criminal violations, that's good for termination. And misappropriation of public funds. Taking money that belongs to the school system. Okay? These are items that relate to good cause for being fired. Several years ago, in the state of Texas, there was a teacher that was terminated for theft at a school. She was an elementary school teacher, and she went out to the dumpster, crawled into the dumpster. She's a better person than I am. Crawled into the dumpster and gathered boxes of crayons. And she was terminated for theft. Now, that's a stretch, but it happened. But it happened. Be careful. Be smart. Be wise. So those staples that you took home, that tape that you took home, you might want to bring it back to school. I'm just kidding, okay? I hope I'm kidding, okay? All right.